All right, episode one, Sweaty Fantasy Football Podcast. Um, we'll workshop the name a little bit, but that's what it is for now.
But yeah, let's get after it.
All righty. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna go over my power rankings. Um, so yeah, I just made power rankings for the league. All right, number one in the league. Shouldn't be any big surprises on this one. I have Mr. Braden Ledford, the defending champ, the commissioner. Whatever else you want to say about him. I mean, his team's kind of just loaded, top to bottom. There's really not a whole lot to say. He's built kind of a juggernaut.
If I was going to jump in and kind of just say what makes him, he's also the number one in my power rankings. It's not often you see someone with so much talent at the top have the depth to back it up. You look at a team with Bowers and you don't often see Njoku behind it, and that's the weakest comparison I could give you. I mean, you have Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. I think for a very long time in the league, that's going to be number one. But just having two starting, presumably starting, seeing as Tyler Shuck is the best quarterback in New Orleans, but just seeing four startable QBs and then also two of the top four, it's built for the long haul. It's top heavy and deep. It is the number one team. It's going to be that way for a while.
Yeah, and he keeps hitting on draft picks too. I mean, he had a good team, and then like last year he drafted Bowers and Brian Thomas. That's one way to turn a rebuild around real quick. Is to draft a guy who finishes as the top five wide receiver and the tight end one. I mean, if you have that on top of already having St. Brown and Gibbs, then you trade for Josh Allen. I mean, it's not really a surprise that he won. But yeah, top to bottom, I mean, Roma Dunze and Tet are his flex. He's got Shuck on the bench. I mean, Kyle Williams was a great pickup. Like you said, Njoku's is two, so it's not like his two was even awful. His two was a starting tight end that catches passes. You don't really see that. Once we get towards the bottom, you'll see quite a few teams don't even have one quarterback that you'd really take over Njoku. Um, so yeah, I mean this one's pretty clear how it could go wrong. I like to do those for every team just to kind of see like what really could implode. And to me, it's really if the Lions take a massive step back with Ben Johnson leaving. I mean, if Gibbs and St. Brown are so good, I don't really see that being an issue. And then if the tush push gets banned, if the Bears are too crowded, I mean, there's not really a whole lot. You're kind of trying to find things at that point. But
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely comes to a point where you're nitpicking, but I feel like that's probably common with teams that come off of a Super Bowl and take a first round draft pick.
yeah. All right. Well, that one's pretty clear and obvious. The second one, and I think where we'll probably disagree, and most people will disagree, is I put myself two. Um, in my opinion, there's only one hole on this roster. It's a pretty big hole. The running backs, James Conner and Pacheco, and behind that, I got Jaleel McLaughlin, Garendo, Dobbins. I mean, that's a pretty nasty running back room, and not in a super great way. But I mean, the quarterbacks. I mean, Caleb and Kyler, that's pretty solid. Puka and London, that's top of the league, near the top of the league. Kittle, and then I drafted Loveland this year. So the tight end room's pretty set. I think I have a pretty decent bench. Receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends are good. Running backs are leave a lot to be desired.
I think you hit it on the head when you said one of the ones I would disagree with fairly heavily. Not as aggressively as you may have thought though. This team put up 200 in the semis last year and lost, which is just insane that a team can drop 200 and lose. But the team deserves some respect for sure. Starting really with the quarterback room. The quarterback room has some depth that will be startable this year. Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, Tua, all kind of guys that you're not super excited to have on a roster, but like that there are teams that are going to win you weeks in the down to stretch of the season as quarterbacks get hurt, as you need guys to come in and like Tua has a 40-point ceiling. we may see that ceiling a little less than a couple years ago, but the quarterback room is super solid. I'm going to skip right over the running back room. Don't worry, I'll get back to that. But the wide receiver room is probably the best in the league. You mentioned Puka and Drake, but even Marvin Harrison, there's just so much room left for him to develop. I still believe that he's the best wide receiver prospect we've seen probably since like a Julio or a Megatron. I still believe he was a better prospect than Jamar Chase. And then some good depth there too. The receiver room is going to be good for a long time. Well, my favorite part is the tight end room. I really like tight ends. If you haven't noticed by me talking about them twice, but going from Kittle to Loveland just feels so savvy. Going from someone who has a really high ceiling right now, but as far as a dynasty asset goes, is kind of getting to that age where he starts to slip. But he got his contract extension, probably his last one. And you can just kind of sit on Loveland while Kittle kind of, fades off into the abyss a little bit, which pains me to say as a Niners fan, but he is 31. The running back room is hard. It's really hard. I look at James Conner and I think him playing 17 or I think 16 or 17 games last year, probably a little bit of an outlier. And then Pacheco, they brought in a running back with similar draft capital to him. They retained Hunt. Denver brought in a running back. Dobbins is a free agent. The running back room could be a roadblock for sure. Um, I probably wouldn't have a two. I don't have full power rankings hashed out yet, but I'm probably going to put Mr. Fiesler in that two spot before your team. I might even put Micah's team there. But Mike is going to Micah. He's probably missing the playoffs, so I think it's okay to be above him.
100%. As an owner of his next year first round pick, even though you look at his team right now and on paper it looks like it's going to be all right, but you just know it's going to end up being a top three pick. Something's going to happen. He's going to trade somebody away, and it's going to be a top three pick. Um,
Investing in Micah making bad decisions has never failed me in any of our many years of friendship. Yeah, he's taking good care of me with his bad decisions.
yeah. All right. Number three on my list, I have Trevor. So you mentioned Mr. Fiesler and Micah. I have Trevor number three. I don't
I
know
snubbed him.
what you snubbed him.
I
I
snubbed
mean,
him. I kind of skipped over him,
he's Mel
but he
under
deserves
100.
it.
He's Mel under 100 for a reason. That made me so mad. I mean, scoring, like you mentioned, scoring over 200 in the semis, and I lost to Braden, and then Trevor puts up under 100 points in the Super Bowl, and there's nothing more frustrating than watching the guy that just barely beat you in the highest scoring matchup of all time get a cake walk in the Super Bowl. I mean, that made me so mad watching it. Uh, yeah. But
Heartbreaker,
anyways, his team's
absolute
good.
heartbreaker.
His team's good. I mean, Stroud and Daniels, that's locked in for the next 5 to 10 years. They'll have starting quarterbacks, potentially top end starting quarterbacks. I don't know what the Texans think they're doing with Stroud's line. If they just want to see him get Andrew Luck and sent out of the league at 29, I hope that doesn't happen, but it doesn't look great. Daniels, not much to say there. I mean, Barkley and McCaffrey, this is really where I think it could go wrong for this team. They're both 28. I think they'll play at 29. Um, McCaffrey, I know, will play at 29, and I can't remember Barkley's age off the top of my head, how close he is to 29. But they're both older, both have injury history. Same with Terry. He's pretty old. He's also 29. He'll play at 30. Um, I mean, but if everybody stays healthy, and I'm not going to project injury at this point, Stroud and Daniels is a top quarterback room. Barkley and McCaffrey, that's a great running back room. Jetta's, I mean, elite wide receiver one. Gets a little shaky the further down the board you go, but the top end talent is enough that if everything hits, I think he'll have a good chance to win.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think that I think you get really nervous looking at some of the assets. You look at Barkley, McCaffrey, and Walker, and you think, wouldn't bet on all three of them to play 17 games, but I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to make that bet. I think he's structured it in a way that he's not making that bet. He has some good depth there. I think at least one of them is going to be able to play a lion's share of the season, and probably another one at least get 10 games. And I think that'll be enough to have him feeling very competitive on a semifinal weekend. Another thing is this is the first team we've talked about that has a draft pick before 2028 and actually has a full draft in 2026. So I see some older players, but I do see some good youth, like you said, in the QB room. But it looks like this team will be able to do it for a while, and that's valuable in Dynasty.
Yeah. You think McCaffrey's going to bounce back this year? That's a good
Ah,
nickname actually. RB3 or 103.
yep. I'm not. I have so much fan bias that I try to counteract it, and I try not to get my hopes up. I would love to see
Okay.
McCaffrey bounce back this year. I don't have a lot of faith. I'm very nervous about McCaffrey this year.
I was checking on it earlier. Let's see. I guess it doesn't show on the web, but I mean his running back finishes. It's just oh here it is. I mean, this tells you all you need to know. 10 2 1, 53 38 in the hurt years, 2 1, 68. So it's basically he's playing, and if he plays the full year, he's always been a top 10 and usually a top 2 running back. And then if he gets hurt, obviously your season's over. Last year was a real killer. I don't know if you remember a whole lot of that, but I mean, that was just absurd. The news came out right in camp that he had a little injury that he got, and it wasn't going to be a big deal. Everybody's still taking him one. And then right before the first game of the season, that was just brutal. Anyways,
It hurt. It hurt. Not a lot of data either on these kind of injuries and what the comeback looks like, specifically at that age for not torn Achilles, but like Achilles. Yeah, it's very odd. It's a gamble. McCaffrey is a huge gamble, but McCaffrey's a gamble that if he hits, you're jumping and shouting for joy.
well, you saw him come back at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, and he got re-hurt. I mean, that's when he got re-hurt was he came back too early from it. And you didn't think at the time that it was too early because they had taken most of the season on him. But then he busted that one run up the middle, got a shoestring tackle, and the Achilles is gone again. Um, so yeah, like I mentioned, the way that team could go pretty south is it's really old, injury prone. If it gets hurt, he's toast. All right. Number 4, I have Mr. Fiesler. Where's he at? This is a good team. I did the math the other day, and he's about 5 points from being a back-to-back champ in the past 2 years. It's just the way the ball bounces sometimes, and he's just gotten some really bad luck.
Yeah,
Um,
I love the QB room. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. We talk about Allen and Hurts, but I think this is a very comfortable number two, in my opinion. And honestly, as far as having your QB3 be Herbert and you still have the top end with Lamar Jackson, there's a very good argument for this being the best quarterback room in the league. And some studs in every room, some studs in every room. This team has a chance year in and year out with that core.
yep, he's had a chance, really good chance for the past 2 years. 2 years ago was the infamous game where I beat him by 0.16 points, and that was the game that Brock Purdy threw 4 picks and got hurt in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, I was actually on the road coming back from the in-laws when that happened, and I had my wife checking the scores for me. And I was like, oh, I'm toast. I'm only down. He only needs to throw 10 more yards. And then I had her check, and she's like, well, you're still up 0.16. And I wasn't watching the game, so I didn't know what was happening. But anyways, I digress. He's been really close, is the point. And you're right. Lamar, Joe Burrow, I mean, he's connected to Jamar and T. Higgins, and the defense is still awful. They tried to fix it in the draft a little bit, but I mean, when you pay that much money to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of touchdown regression coming because Jamar just won the Triple Crown, But even if you regress a little bit, Joe Burrow, for being a pocket passer, he's still pretty close to the top. And then Bijan, Brees, there's some questions about Brees. He's not as flashy as he was a couple years ago. A couple years ago, he's a player you would have had to trade at least like three or four first rounders for, maybe two and a stud young player. Shine's a little bit gone, but as an RB2, I love it. Nico, Tyreek, I mean, what a fall from grace, man. He's fallen off a cliff. He's crazy.
Yeah, he's up there in age. I believe he is 30. Yeah, he's 31. And the guys who tend to make it in the league longer, the guys like Adam Thielen, those I feel like those are less the guys who win with athleticism. The way I mean Tyreek, he's known for his freaky speed. They call him the cheetah. Like the athletic traits are really going to fade before the technical traits will. So I am not betting on a Tyreek Hill bounce back year at all. I think that we have seen the best of Tyreek Hill. I'm willing to get hot and say I no longer believe he is the best wide receiver in Miami anymore. I think he's about done. I think he's about done. I think this should be the last year we see of him. He could try to, bounce around forever like Joe Flacco, but but I think he's cooked, overly cooked.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It seems like these elite receivers, think of like D-Hop and Julio, and once they're
Mhm.
done, they're done. And you might not remember, but Julio played a year on the Eagles. I was looking it up the other day. Jerry Rice finished his career on the Seahawks, and I had absolutely, I mean, I don't think I was alive for that, but I had no recollection that he ever played for the Seahawks because, I mean, you hit the end of your career, Tyreek will probably go somewhere on a 1 year deal, make a little bit of money, maybe try to compete for a Super Bowl. But yeah, I don't even know if that's really a pro Jalen Waddle take to say he's not the best receiver on his team. I mean, I still believe in Jalen Waddle, but it doesn't even necessarily need to be pro Jalen Waddle that Tyreek's not that great
It's
anymore.
It's definitely playing the middle a little bit. It's betting on what we saw last year from Tyreek is the best we will see, and then also Jalen Waddle still is a great wide receiver, great pedigree, sixth overall pick. But yeah, um, it's not like Tyreek is his only weapon. Nico Collins and Lad McConkey is a lot of fun. Devontae Adams is an older guy I will be betting on. I think that he could absolutely, he's a year older. I think he could absolutely have a wide receiver to finish this year. I know he talked about Tyreek as if he was his one. But the
That's
wide
true.
receiver room has some life for sure.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the hole is pretty obvious on his team. It's an old team. You got
Mhm.
Tyreek and Kelsey and Adams. I think when I wrote up my power rankings, I said this if this was 2019, this would have he would have had most of the first round right here. I mean, but Lad, he's got some guys on the way up. Kelsey, they're on full conservation mode with Kelsey. I don't think he's going to be super great for fantasy just because they don't need him. They know they're in the playoffs. So many teams are fighting to get into the playoffs and they just save their players for the playoffs because they know they're in. Oh yeah, and Kamara and Chubb. I mean, again, 2019, this would have been an absolutely elite team. Still very well in contention for this year. Moving on, number five. I forgot to mention there was tiers. In the first tier, I had Super Bowl favorite, which was Braden. And then these next three, me, Trevor, and Mr. Fiesler have been in the firm contender tier for me. And then after this, it's tier three competing for the playoffs. Um, Starting that tier off for me is Micah. I think Micah's firmly competing for the playoffs if he doesn't fumble it down the stretch. I mean, he's got a solid team. I mean, when you got Jamar and CeeDee Lamb, you're in a good spot. I mean, those two, they could put up 100 combined on a week. That's not a bet that I would make or that anybody would make. But they could, and you can't really say that about a lot of people.
I don't think I'd make the bet either, but I definitely wouldn't bet against it. It would be so cool to see, just as a football fan, to see that happen. 100 points out of your wide receiver one and two, and it could absolutely happen. We talk about regression from Chase, and I think that we look at a wide receiver one finish and a truly dominant wide receiver one finish. But it didn't really feel like a lot really broke their way. You know what I mean? Yes, they were in a lot of shootouts late. You know what I mean? But they missed the playoffs. You know what I mean? There's a lot of meat on the bone for this team to get better. Uh, Absolutely best wide receiver room in the league. I think it's close. I almost said it's not even close in true Micah fashion. Uh, but the only reason it's close is just because the depth is kind of icky. I would not be happy at all about an Arthur Smith wide receiver as my wide receiver three. And I think I'm even less happy with a 31-year-old wide receiver off an ACL. Uh, depth is a concern. Depth is a huge concern with this team for sure. Uh, if Joe Mixon or Josh Jacobs goes down, your running back two is maybe Aaron Jones, maybe Tony Pollard. It's I would bet on this team to make the playoffs, but I own the pick next year, and I believe I have a great shot at picking top four.
Oh man, you do. I mean, when you look at this bench, it's got Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed. I mean, he had more of the Packers receiver room at one point. I think his entire taxi squad was just Packers receivers. And then they went out and spent their first rounder on a receiver, which kind of right after the draft, he was dropping Packers receivers left and right. That was fun to watch. But yeah, Aaron Jones. I mean, maybe Kareem Hunt keeps up the lead role in Kansas City like he did last year. Um, I don't know. I'm hoping not as the Pacheco manager, but I wouldn't put it out of the cards. I mean, Pollard, ETN, this ETN's a crazy one to me. How he was the running back, I think three a couple of years ago, and now he's almost basically irrelevant. Like we tried to do a trade for him, and he wanted a second, and I said I don't think I'm willing to pay a second. Which a couple of years ago, if you would have told me that you could have traded that I wouldn't have wanted to trade a second for ETN, I would have said you were insane. But yeah, the depth on this team really makes it hard for me to put it up any higher than this. I mean, DK Metcalf, even if Rodgers is there, what do you get out of a older Rodgers who's already thinking about retirement? And if Rodgers isn't there, and you got Mason Rudolph, you got a potential rookie. I mean, it's between him and Pickens. I don't know how you'd be happy with either one with that quarterback play.
Yeah, it's Caleb Johnson season in Pittsburgh, baby. I can't
Yeah,
imagine we see a lot of pass attempts there. You know what? Actually, I think a bet that I would absolutely be willing to make is the Steelers to not lead the league, to be last in the league in pass attempts this year. An Arthur Smith offense that has historically thrown the ball much less than expected. Their pass rate over expected is traditionally been or historically been bottom five in the league, and now you have maybe Will Howard is the one. I believe he went in the sixth round. I think that I think that Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson could each see 250 carries.
I would. Yeah, that's not something I've bet on, but I wouldn't bet against that for sure. Number five, or I guess that was number five. Number six, I put Jacob at number six. He's still in this competing for a playoff spot here. And the only reason I put Micah ahead of him was just the Jamar CD pairing. I mean, it's hard to put somebody with Jamar and CD at six. So I put Jacob at six. He has Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is such an interesting player for fantasy football because he's so good and he wins so much. But in recent years, he's been pretty disappointing. You have questions around Rashee Rice. Is he going to get suspended this year? There's been some rumors that it's going to get pushed back maybe another year. We don't really know yet. It's got Xavier Worthy. They drafted Jalen Royals, whose comp wasn't it Rashee?
Yeah, yeah, it was Rasheed by quite a few people saw that parallel.
I mean, that's kind of funny. He's got Achane and Taylor. That's a pretty solid RB room. Injury prone based off of the past few years, but it's a good one. And then, I mean, T. Higgins and Devonta Smith, both are solid. Both are really solid receivers. Both are the two on their team, but with really good quarterbacks. And so, I mean, it's not CD and Jamar, but it's a good team or a good receiver room. Um, Sees Laporta, great tight end. My dynasty tight end three. Yeah, I think he's my three. Yeah. I'll keep him at my three for now. I mean, I think Kyron's really underrated. Mike Evans, he's old. He was the one that lost me the championship or the semifinal game against Braden. He needed like 13 points and he got 11. And that one, I just on principle, I can't like him. He's got a decent bench. He's got Rodgers coming off the bench. Pickens again, not a big fan of the Steelers. It's pretty good. It'll compete for a spot. I don't know if it has the top end talent to really make a deep run at the playoffs, but I think he could make it into the playoffs. Maybe surprise a team or two. Ball bounces the right way.
Yeah, you definitely have enough depth on this team to feel decent about it going in. You have the running back room, it is a little fragile. That's probably the least deep room, but you have three very good starters there. And then you have plenty of wide receivers to roll out. You have two good tight ends to roll out. You have three quarterbacks that should start every year, and you could end up with a fourth, depending on what happens in Cleveland, what happens in Pittsburgh. And then it's worth noting too that it is always super impressive to have a team be vying for the playoffs or almost feels like a lock for the playoffs. And he is somewhat in a rebuild. He could click the rebuild button very easily. Five first round picks in 2027. And I believe, yeah, 2 seconds as well. If he doesn't like the way this year or next year goes, he can sell off a lot of these pieces and just bring in so much talent through the draft. He's definitely not in a bad dynasty spot. But yes, I would not put him ahead of anybody who is in front of him in the rankings.
All right, number seven, Mr. Zach Baker. Um, this team has a lot of variation. You gotta really trust. Let's see. Here you are. You gotta trust your scouting and your process when you have as many picks as you did. Um, coming into the league with a subprime roster, sold it off for picks, and now the picks are coming due. All right, so now you're starting to make your picks. Genty, I mean, you can't even really debate that. He's going to hit. Hampton, does it take him a little bit to beat out Najee? I don't think so. Najee is really not that good, but he might be good enough. Um, Drake May, they're building him up pretty good. I mean, they got Kyle Williams in the third round, guy to Washington State. Number four, Will Campbell. I mean, you got to protect your franchise guy. Purdy, I don't know if he's going to hit 60, but his extension should be coming in pretty soon. I'm expecting a breaking news notification any day now. Um, really what bumped you into the contending for a playoff spot for me was your trade for AJ Brown. In my opinion, that was a
Mm.
very, very good trade. What'd you give up for him? Let's see, you got AJ a second and a third for two 2025 firsts. In my opinion, I mean that's a really good trade because you get was that the right one?
I think so. I think I moved 110 for AJ Brown, which ended up being RJ Harvey. Probably would have been my pick there as well. And then I picked up a 27 third, some fob, and I moved from 208 to 205 in this year's draft. That was the total haul for AJ Brown.
Yeah, I
Was
misspoke. It
very
was a
happy with it.
25 second, not two first.
I love the build. I love the build. It was a very firm 10th place 2 weeks ago, before we did our rookie draft. Bringing in the three rookie running backs is really kind of the when I sit and stare at my team with a sparkle in my eye. That's what I'm looking at. It's not exactly how I like to build a roster is starting at the running back. But you know, when you have the opportunity to go Genty, Hampton, Travion at the top of the draft and really just kind of solidify a room for a few years, it's hard to move away from that. QJJ Brown fan in general made it really easy to click accept on that one. Hoping some of the shots work out and there's enough picks to save me if I'm not there quite yet. The real plan is to contend closer to the 2027 season. That would be most ideal. But getting there early is never a bad thing. I will not be sad at all if my pick is not top four this year.
Yeah, yeah, it was did good drafting in my opinion. And then you got Gino, and you got some older guys that you know are going to put up points. You don't know where they're going to be maybe in a year or two, but
Mhm.
that's all right. You need a good mix. Jack Besh is a great pick. See, going down to your picks, you have Micah's 26 first. That feels pretty good. So even you're right, even if you make the playoffs and your pick ends up being pick 7 because you make it around, um, Mike is going to be top 3. So you'll have a good haul there. And then you got a lot of seconds and thirds. 27, you have quite a few firsts. I mean, I'm not used to looking at a roster and scrolling and seeing that many picks. Um, yeah, I mean,
I
I hadn't even
believe I
gone
have
down all the way yet.
14.
Huh?
I think I have 14 in 2027, I believe. So four firsts, 4 seconds, five thirds. No, that's 13. I have 13 of the 30 2027 picks. That's what I was building towards. It feels like maybe I got here a little faster than I thought I would. Which is why I'm okay making moves like the AJ Brown move, but the real plan is to be patient and wait for the list you're looking at to to pay off.
Yeah, I mean the real utility here is even if I mean if all of your rookies come out of the gate firing this year, you can sell off a lot of those picks, get some studs, and I mean you sell off a couple of those 27 first, pair it with a 26 first, and you've got a couple studs that'll put you right over the top. And I mean, if you want to, you could basically buy a championship this year.
I do. I feel really nervous. I do feel like if I sold everything, I think I could get to maybe the one seed, but also maybe the two seed. And I do believe that if I wait and I stick and pick, I make my picks, I make them well. I think I can be a pretty safe one seed, and hopefully I can make that last for years. Get mine a few championships out of those picks. That's the long haul plan.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's working so far. All right, I think we're gonna break and come back on number 8.
Sounds good.
Number 8. Number 8, I have a tier break going into number 8. So here so far we've had lock to make the playoffs. Pretty pretty confident that we'll have a number 1 seed in Mr. Braden Ledford. And now going on to number 8. We have the other Mr. Ledford, Braden's dad. And this is the tier that I would bet most of the money in my bank account that does not get into the playoffs. Um, there you go. Here it is. All right, this is an incredible young team. Took Cam Ward at the 102, which allowed Zach to get all the good running backs at the top of the board. That felt pretty good, but he had a pretty big need at quarterback. Cam Ward, Penix, definitely not a top quarterback room. It could pan out and be an okay quarterback room, but we could also see a scenario where this is almost easily the worst quarterback room in the league for fantasy. Scattaboo, you don't love it when he's in your top 2. Caleb Johnson. Receivers are good. This is a good rebuilding team with JSN and Travis Hunter. You got Travis Hunter, I believe, at the 108, which in my opinion is a great draft pick. Tyler Warren, you had the top, some people's top tight end off the board. Not the NFL's top tight end off the board, but a lot of people's top tight end off the board. Addison, Mooney. Mooney is a flex. I mean, Mooney's a pretty solid flex. I feel like he's a guy that you're not upset about having as your flex. Um, he has the Seahawks defense. Don't know why he's still rostering a defense, but it's the Seahawks, so I guess whatever, it makes sense that he's a Seahawks fan. The bench, Jalen McMillan. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that got absolutely cooked? There was some glimmers of hope for Jalen McMillan, and then Emeka Egbuka just crushed every single hope that Jalen McMillan managers ever had.
Yeah, Ibuka was a little bit of a shocker. I totally understand what they're doing. I like what they're doing, but Ibuka really took me off guard. Not only that, but Chris Godwin getting a multi-year extension as well. We thought there was a very good chance he was leaving. McMillan's value right now is very different than it was a few months ago. I totally agree that it's building out the right way. I like the investments in JSN and Travis Hunter. That feels like it can absolutely be in a couple years a competitive wide receiver room in a playoff game. It feels like a risky team. It feels like a lot of gambles on this team, which I guess is going to happen after you have I think it was seven or eight rookie picks.
Yeah.
It feels like there is a ceiling to be excited about. Last year, it didn't feel like there was anything to be hopeful for outside of the picks. Now it feels like you can really hope that Cam Ward hits. You can really hope Penix continues to show the flashes that he showed last year. Jackson Dart, not a personal favorite that I'd be betting on, but there you see the path. You can absolutely see the path for this team. And yeah, there's gambles all throughout the roster, and when you gamble a lot like that, you're bound to hit quite a few of them.
Yeah, the one thing to note, the draft picks are not what you'd hope for a team like this. He has his 26 first, second and third, doesn't have a first in 27 or 28. I believe he traded those away to get Milrow.
I have both of those actually, and
Yep.
I am quite optimistic about what that's going to look like, respectfully.
Man,
Yeah, Milrow is a big trade.
oh man, when I saw this trade, you, in my opinion, won this trade. Maybe the biggest win in memorable history. I mean, you have a project at quarterback and a 26th third for a really good receiver when he has the ball in his hands, a 28 first and then I mean a 26 second. His second's probably going to be fairly high, and then his first rounder and Burden for a project that more than likely won't start this year. I mean, that's a steal on your part, in my opinion. When I saw that go through, I was flabbergasted.
I got to watch the draft with Mr. Ledford, both the Ledfords actually, and Micah. So I got to watch the live reaction as they jumped up and down screaming as he was selected. And I told them in that moment, I was like, I'm going to be leaving this draft with Jalen Milrow. I really thought I was going to do it at 110. And I was very honest. I was like, this is an investment piece. I do not bet on third round quarterbacks. I do not believe that he's going to turn it around and become great. I think there's a chance, but the plan was always to capitalize on a little bit of Seahawks fandom there.
Yeah, that's always a good move to capitalize on the big fans. I mean, in my opinion, even if Milrow hits, you still have a chance to win the trade. Like even if he hits and he's a top 12 quarterback, he's the Seahawks starting quarterback. He's a locked in quarterback, franchise quarterback. However you want to say that. Even if he is that, I think there's a chance that you still win the trade. And at worst, it would be neutral in my opinion. And so I mean, that's trading on the hype right there. And like when you see those Seahawks fans jumping up and down, you just know you can get a premium for it.
And
Uh,
it fits the bill. That's what I like to do. That's kind of how I approach the game. Is kind of scraping value and trying to create value out of thin air when I can. I feel as if I feel like the only way Milrow really pays off that price is if he's sitting in the tier of Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, all of whom got better draft capital, arguably went to better situations to develop them. I feel great about the bet, and I'm sure he does too, and I'm very happy for him.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's hoping he has the JSN Milrose stack for years to come. Does that happen? We will see. Um, I mean, to me, it's kind of the same as your team in that the way this goes wrong in 25 is this is all rookies, and if he hits on very few to none of them, if Cam Ward takes a while, Scatterboot doesn't beat out Tyrone Tracy, Caleb Johnson's in timeshare with Jalen Warren. Travis Hunter surprises everybody and just goes full-time DB. Warren has Anthony Richardson and maybe Daniel Jones throwing to him. I mean, this team could be an under 100 a week scorer if these rookie picks go south with 126 first. I mean, with one first in the next 2 years, that would be about as awful as you can get. But I mean, I'm not going to write it off completely. He could hit. I liked some of his picks, but I think 2025 is probably not his year. Number nine. I've got Tyler at number nine. I think you said you disagreed with this one a little bit, or maybe a lot.
Having Tyler at 9.
Yeah.
I do disagree with this. I actually really like the build. The quarterback room, we don't have to talk about that. That is going to be hard to overcome. I see two guys that I have zero confidence that will be on the field week 10. I actually really like Stafford this year. I think I'm going to be ahead of consensus on Stafford, just due to the fact that he's still a great quarterback. If he's healthy, if he's playing, I think that he has at least another year of being good. Quarterback room's rough, yes. But Chase Brown was one of the biggest winners of the draft. James Cook, again, probably has another year. Quinshawn Judkins, a lot of people had him as the RB3 overall in this draft. A lot of people had him ahead of Travion Henderson. He's got the handcuff. He's got Roshan Johnson, who will have a really good chance to compete in a valuable backfield. And then you just go over to the receiver room and you look at Malik Neighbors and Garrett Wilson. That feels like a great core. I think any team would be very happy with that as their 1 and 2. And then I look at guys like Rasheed Rice and Michael Pittman, Chris Olave, all a bit riskier, but guys that still have something there. Trey McBride is my tight end too, and I might even tier break McBride before I get to Laporta and Kittle. It feels like it feels like if he could figure out the quarterback room, if he can get a full year out of Anthony Richardson, this team will be in the playoffs. I could absolutely see this team beating out Micah or myself to get into the playoffs for sure. And he's building out the right way. He has 3 picks in the next 2 years. Has all of his own firsts, which is valuable. Has a surplus of picks. He's building the right way. I do like the team. I like the build, and I do like what's already there.
I just wanted to go back and look at what Tyler got Malik Neighbors for from Jacob. I remembered it was bad. I
Oh,
do you
I
I'll just
think I
say it.
remember it off the top of my head. Not looking at it, I believe it was Rashad White, a second round pick, and DeAndre Hopkins, and that was just before the regular season this year. Is that correct? Am
That is
I
it was
adequately
in
scarred
June.
by this?
It was in June of 24, so I mean it wasn't right before the regular season, but you hit it right on the head. It was D-Hop, Rashad White, and a second for Neighbors. I mean that has got to be in contention for the worst trade of all time in our league. This league's been going 3 years. We're going on to year four, and I mean D-Hop, how old was he when he made that trade? Like 32?
He was like
Rashad White.
74.
Yeah, that's how it felt. It felt like he was 74. Rashad White, I mean, Bucky Irving obviously wasn't who Bucky Irving is now yet, but the writing was on the wall because he was so inefficient year over year. And they tried to bring in Sean Tucker to be the next guy that didn't pan out. There's a couple more names in there, guys that I'm forgetting that they brought in to try to take some of the work off Rashad White, but. I mean, he wasn't a guy that I don't think anybody was really betting on for Dynasty, and he goes and makes this trade. Anyways, I was so mad when that happened because I was trying to trade up in the draft with Tyler to get Neighbors, and he didn't respond to it, and then goes and does or to go get it with Jacob. Sorry, Jacob didn't respond, and then he goes and does that and gives them away to Tyler, basically for a half-eaten bag of Doritos and a sweaty sock.
Shout out to Tyler because most members of this league, if they had pulled off a fleece of this sort, then the player nickname would be Jacob. If anyone else got neighbors from Jacob for that haul, they would
Yes.
have nicknamed him Jacob. So
Yep,
shout out to Tyler for being a bigger man than me.
Tyler's too kind on that one. Yeah, Olave, I mean, you got some questions. Olave and Pittman, again, those were some names that in about 21 everybody would have been really excited about. Pittman's had a pretty big fall off. Um, yeah, I just don't know that there's a whole lot of top end. I think the quarterbacks, you've already touched on it, but the quarterbacks really hurt. I mean, you currently have a backup in Atlanta and a potential backup by even week one. You said you didn't feel confident that they'd be starting by week 10, but there's a chance that Anthony Richardson gets beat out by Daniel Jones in training camp.
If it wasn't Daniel Jones, I'd be totally co-signing that. Like don't get me wrong, me saying week 10 is not an Anthony Richardson endorsement. It's a Daniel Jones tweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what a room to compete, huh? Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. I mean, two of the top end quarterbacks available, but I mean, here we are. I'm guessing Kirk Cousins, first team that gets a quarterback injury, he's probably traded. Atlanta probably takes half of his money. The other team takes the other half, and he'll be starting somewhere potentially. But if he doesn't, then Tyler's kind of down the drain at that point. But he has Stafford.
Steelers need a quarterback bad. Steelers
I
need a
know.
quarterback real bad.
I mean, if Rodgers pulls a Rodgers and says, I'm out here, I'm gonna go do some more ayahuasca. You guys can go fly a kite. I'm gonna retire. I bet they pick up the phone almost right away and make a call on Kirk Cousins if they haven't already. I mean, just briefly,
That wouldn't shock me. Go ahead.
I am bamboozled. What did the Steelers do in the draft? I mean, you have Mason Rudolph and that's it, and you just sit there and do nothing and take Derek Harmon in the first round. Great D lineman. Why would you take a D lineman when you need a quarterback? And the answer might be that they didn't think the quarterbacks there were good enough to take there at 21. It's just, I mean, what are you doing? You've been a quarterback away since Big Ben, and you're gonna roll it back again?
I hear you. I mean, it may not be shocking looking at my roster and picks, but I do believe in a rebuild. I do believe in not pushing chips in too early. And I think that it looks rough now. I think as a Steelers fan right now, you're looking at those season tickets thinking maybe next year. But I do believe that 2, 3 years from now, you will look at Shador Sanders or Jackson Dart and you will think, you know what? I'm really glad we have insert rookie name here and Derek Harmon as opposed to Shador Sanders and maybe a little more of a hole on the defensive line. You know what I mean? Because you could absolutely have taken any of those next three quarterbacks. I had them personally ranked Shuck, Shador, Dart. You could absolutely have taken any of those three and just been in the same boat next draft and having burnt away a first round pick. Derek Harmon will be on the roster next year. They will feel, I imagine, unless he busts, which could happen with anybody, but there's a much higher chance of that happening with second tier quarterbacks in this year's draft. I think they are willing to lose some games and not delay the suffering more than it has to.
And they just did this with Kenny Pickett a couple years ago. They took the mediocre quarterback in the middle of the first round when everybody said, "Is he really a first round quarterback?" And they took him in the middle of the first. I'd imagine. I mean, they're basically in the same spot every year, right? Like they're late teens to early 20s.
Yeah, and they'll probably. I can imagine this may be the year Tomlin loses his streak, and that can only be good for them. Get them closer to a real quarterback next year. I don't think anyone outside of Cam Ward really fits that build of being a real quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. So I just looked it up. He was picked 20th overall. So I mean, they're always picked 20. They were picked 21 this year. They're always kind of in the same spot. And until they get the quarterback right, they're going to be in the same spot. They're going to win enough games to keep Tomlin's job, keep his winning streak alive, and lose in the first round of the playoffs. Anyways, I have
It's
this.
funny. I pulled up the draft. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
It's funny. I pulled up the draft to see, and the pick right after Kenny Pickett was Trent McDuffie. Obviously, they're drafting for need. They're not just taking the next guy that's on the board, looking at it 3 years later. But you wonder right now, would they rather have spent that pick on Kenny Pickett, or would they rather have a guy like Trent McDuffie, or a couple picks later, Tyler Smith went to Dallas. Right after that, Tyler Linderbaum went to Baltimore. All guys that you presume would be on their second contract, a large second contract with the Steelers had they not reached on a subpar quarterback.
Yep, 100%. Number 10. Oh, oh man. I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean it's Gabe, and it's not really that close. He is so obviously in the rebuild. He's one, two, three, four, 26 first rounders, two 26. Oh, I actually thought he had more picks than this, but he has four in next year's draft. I mean, Bo Nix is good. Bryce Young looks like he maybe turned the corner. We'll have to do a deeper dive on that because that's pretty fascinating, the Bryce Young turnaround. There's not many quarterbacks that get picked one overall, benched 2 years into their career, and then come back and seemingly revitalize their career. That just doesn't really happen. I mean, he's got Bucky, sensational player, Rashad White, Matthew Golden. I'm not high on Golden. Troy Franklin. Oh, buddy. Troy Franklin is a starting wide receiver for this team is really just kind of you could just put that up as the headline.
Yeah, this team needs work, and he will be able to put that work in. You know, the picks he has next year, he actually has more cap. Just looking at it now, it'll depend on where the picks shake out. We know for sure he has 101, but I will say this team does not look markedly worse than my team was 6 weeks ago. And I think that it's easy to see the path where he feels closer to that seven spot fighting for the playoff spot after a good draft. There are some pieces you can get really excited about. Matthew Golden being probably the worst of them. Bucky Irving being super exciting. Two young quarterbacks that have flashed enough in this league to warrant being highly drafted quarterbacks in Dynasty. You can see the path. It's going to be a year. I won 2 games last year. I think that I think that that's probably about where the line should be. I would bet under before I bet over. It's probably going to be a long season, maybe squeezes out a win or two, and we really start having a better conversation about this team in 2026.
I think my official prediction is that he gets one win and it's against Micah in about week 12 to take Micah out of the playoff hunt.
That would just make my year. I'd probably make a little chocolate basket with like roses, ribbons, bows, and I'd mail it right to Gabe's house. Oh, I'd be thrilled.
That would just be that would be incredible. Um, I mean, when I did my power rankings, I did kind of a how it could go wrong for every team. This team was kind of at the point where I was like, how could it go right? And I mean, the honest answer is how could it go right is he wins no games this year. Um, I don't actually see, I think I wrote, bet, I would bet every ounce of money that I have or will have for the next 10 years that this team doesn't make the playoffs. I mean, if this team made the playoffs, that would be, I don't know. He took the Tyrone Tracy bait, I mean, he came out of the draft pretty unscathed, but Braden was shopping him every single trade. Every single time I tried to trade with Braden, Tyrone Tracy was on the table and Geno Smith was on the table. And I mean, it
He,
drove me up a wall, but yeah, hey,
he
you got
managed to
him.
get both of them off his roster, man.
I know.
Persistence, picture of persistence right there. Never give up.
I know. So yeah, that's the power rankings. I don't know that we necessarily disagreed on that many that many
They're
spots.
They're very clear tiers. They're very clear tiers. We'd probably move some things a little differently around the tiers, but as far as the tiers go, it's very clear what teams will be fighting for a Super Bowl and what teams will start studying the rookies in about September.
Yeah, there's going to be some teams that watch college football a little more carefully than other teams. I would
uh,
say Gabe better start watching them. I mean, it's kind of funny also to see like you got some Seahawks fans. Tyler's a Browns fan. Judkins at I think it was 5.
mhm.
Gabe's a Ducks fan. Picked up quite a few Ducks. So it's kind of funny to see that you kind of make a little mental note going forward for the next Oregon Duck that comes out next year. Maybe you try to snipe Gabe and sell it to him for a couple firsts. I don't know. Those are just kind of the games you play. Kind of the games you play in fantasy.
If I had room on my roster for Marcus Mariota, man, I would have him and I'd be shopping him aggressively. Let's see if I can't get Let's see if I can't get Matthew Golden for Marcus Mariota.
There you go. I bet you could pull that one off. Um, Quick question to finish it off. This is obviously my first time doing it. I don't know where we want to put this. This probably would make more sense at the beginning of a podcast, but what is your dynasty philosophy? This is a dynasty league, do you like to play in like a 2-year window, 5-year window? What are you looking at?
I think the correct answer is probably a 3-year window. I think that's when you should be trying to structure it. I fall into the trap a little bit. I probably play closer to a 5-year window personally. Um, Part of that is believing in my ability to kind of recycle talent, recycle picks, and stay competitive. I would say I play closer to a 5-year, but I think a 3-year is the correct answer.
Yeah, I play pretty close to a 2-year. It's funny, I think we have about as opposite of dynasty philosophy as you can get. I'm excited when the draft is over because I have picks to shop, and you are on the buying end of all of a lot of those picks. I mean, you'll be proud of me. I still have all three of my 28 picks.
You're
So,
doing great. You're doing great.
I mean, I've obviously already had talks with quite a few managers on moving that. Um, but yeah, I usually try to play in a 2-year window, and I also think it depends. Like I was coming off of the championship 2 years ago, and I think when you're coming off of a championship, you can kind of sell off a little bit and just go all in because you don't really get a back-to-back very often.
Hmm.
When you inherit an orphan that's bad, selling it off for picks, I think it's a good move, and usually there's enough people at the top that are competing and people at the bottom that it makes a lot of sense to go buy that one good player on Gabe's team for a pick at the trade deadline to try to put yourself over the top. Um, yeah, I go probably 2-year window, 3-year, 5-year. It's pretty solid.
I got really lucky coming into the league because on day one of the league, I obviously had no problem rebuilding someone else's team. I joined, for a little backstory. I joined a little over a year ago, right before last year's rookie draft, and everybody was competing at that point. Every single person in the league at that point was interested in trying to win a Super Bowl in that year. Now we have Gabe, who's very obviously in rebuild. Mr. Ledford entered rebuild last year. Jacob, it kind of appears, is 1 foot into the rebuild with the way he's amassing 27 capital. Micah will come to his senses and rebuild it any day now. And a few other people have hinted at it. So
Yeah.
it feels like it's going to be more competitive searching for picks than it was when I first got in, but I was able to really amass. I took 3 first round picks last year, four this year. I'll take four in 27, and then I have four between 26 and 28. It was very easy to collect them. I think it's going to get a little harder going forward. We'll have some more people competing for the bottom. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes.
I will say it's kind of awkward when you go to trade with somebody and you're like, so you're in a rebuild, so you want to give me your good players for picks, and they say, no, I'm competing this year. Then you go, uh-oh, we're not going to be able to find something very easily then because we're not aligned on where your team is.
That's when you buy their picks. You buy their picks, and you're very happy about it.
There you go. That's a good philosophy. All right. I think that's all I have. I don't really know how to. You have anything else you want to talk about for tonight?
I don't. That was a great episode one. Now that I can see my picture again, I realize you could see my hands that whole time. I should have kept those out of the way. I've been
That's all right.
fidgeting the whole time.
I don't think
But
you picked your
great,
nose too many times.
great show. Great show one. Yeah.
Yeah, one of
Hopefully this is something, man.
yeah, hopefully one of many. Should be getting Brayton
Absolutely.
in here. Um, Trevor said Trevor's pretty in when he has time. Micah said he'll stop in every once in a while.
I'm sure we'll get the whole league through at some point. And I would love to get Tyrell a guest episode at least once, man. He's still part of the league history,
Yeah.
title winner.
Yeah, I mean we gotta ask him what he did to that roster. I mean what I mean
Put him and Gabe on an episode together.
it would be probably a good thing that it's virtual, or Gabe might throw some hands for this 3-year rebuild tailspin that
Oh,
Tyrell sent him into.
hey man, if you
But yeah,
put me
it's
in a
gonna be
room with
good. It'll
Spicy
be
Boy.
oh man. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a fun one. Hopefully this is something that it takes off. Obviously, we're new to this, so we're kind of just flushing it out. But I'm having a lot of fun. Um, it'll be a lot of fun as we get towards the season and you're ready to watch some football again.
Hell yeah, man. I'm super excited.
Me too.